So, have you ever stopped to think about what makes certain words just stick with you, while others, they just kind of disappear? Well, today we're going to dive into language itself and figure out how to make the things we say every day way more powerful, impactful, and just unforgettable. Just listen to this line from Winston Churchill. It sounds so simple, right? But the feeling behind it, the weight of it is huge. Words just like these have this incredible ability to stay with us, to really define moments. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and find out the secret behind it all. And that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? What is it that makes some sentences pop, while others just fall flat? Well, the answer's in this kind of secret ingredient, a special spice that we can add to our language. It's a set of tools that can turn a totally ordinary sentence into something, well, something special. Okay, so language kind of works in two basic ways. First, you've got literal language. This is just straightforward, say what you mean stuff. Like, it is raining heavily. Super clear, no confusion. But then you have figurative language. This is where we get to play a little, use our imagination. Instead of the boring version, you say, it's raining cats and dogs. The meaning's the same, but that image, that's what sticks in your head. In this special tool, this thing that adds all that color and flavor to our words, it's called a figure of speech. It's just a word or a phrase that you're not supposed to take literally. It's all about creating an effect, right? You can think of it as a technique to make what we say more effective, more vivid, and honestly, just a lot more interesting to listen to. Now, you might be thinking, okay, this sounds a little academic, a little complicated, but here's the wild part. We are all, and I mean all of us, already experts at this. We use these classic little tools every single day, most of the time without even noticing. Let's start with a few you probably used this morning. First up, the simile. This one is probably one of the most common figures of speech out there, and it's so beautifully simple. All it is a comparison between two totally different things. And the dead giveaway? It's always going to use the words like or as to make that connection. For example, he is as brave as a lion. I mean, obviously, the guy isn't literally a lion, right? But by saying he's as brave as one, you instantly get this powerful picture of his courage. It's like a mental shortcut to a deeper meaning. And that, right there, is the magic of a simile.
All right, next up is the metaphor. You can think of this one as the simile's bolder, more confident cousin. It also makes a comparison, but it ditches the words like or as. A metaphor doesn't just suggest something is like something else, it just comes right out and says it is something else. Just think about this classic line from Shakespeare. He didn't say the world is like a stage. No, he said the world is a stage. See how much more direct that is? It just erases the distance between the two ideas, and that makes the whole comparison feel way more powerful and profound. Okay, next we have personification. This is a really cool one. It's where we take things that aren't alive, objects or even ideas, and we give them human qualities. We make them talk or feel or act. It's our way of connecting with the non-human world like it's one of us.
A perfect example is a phrase you've heard a million times. The opportunity knocked at his door. Now, opportunity isn't a person, it's just an idea. It doesn't have hands, it can't knock. But by giving it that very human action, the whole sentence just springs to life. It feels more urgent, more dynamic. And now let's talk about one that everybody loves, hyperbole. To put it simply, this is just the art of exaggeration. It's when we go completely over the top to make a point or to be funny, and everyone knows you're not supposed to take it literally. I mean, come on, we've all said this, right? I have told you a million times not to touch my stuff. Did you actually say it a million times? Of course not. But is there any better way to get across just how frustrated you are? It's a tool we use all the time to give our words some real emotional punch. All right, so those are the big ones, the basics that we sprinkle into our conversations every day. Our foundation is solid. So now, you ready to level up? Let's check out some of the more sophisticated tricks of the trade. Let's talk about something called a euphemism. This is basically the art of softening your language. You take a word that might sound a little too harsh or blunt or just unpleasant, and you swap it out for something milder. It's a way of being polite or gentle when you're talking about tricky subjects. And you hear these things everywhere, on the news, at the office. Saying someone passed away just feels a bit gentler than saying they died. And getting let go from a job doesn't sting quite as much as getting fired. Euphemisms are all about softening the blow and just trying to handle sensitive situations with a bit more care. Okay, Now for two concepts that are super cool because they play with contradictions, the oxymoron and the paradox. An oxymoron is really simple. You just jam two opposite words together, like deafening silence. It creates this cool, surprising effect. A paradox, though, is a whole statement. It seems like it makes no sense at first, but when you think about it, it actually reveals some kind of deeper truth. You know, like the classic, less is more.
All right, time to get into the really pro-level stuff. We're going to take a quick peek at the techniques that the masters, the great writers, the powerful speakers, used to make their words not just good, but absolutely iconic.
Okay, this word sounds a little intimidating, metonymy. But trust me, the idea behind it is something we do all the time. It's when you talk about something, not by its real name, but by naming something else that's really closely connected to it. It's all about thinking in associations. The perfect example is this famous saying, "The pen is mightier than the sword." Now, when we say that, we're not talking about a literal pen. The pen stands for writing, for ideas, for communication. And the sword isn't just a weapon, it stands for military force and violence. The phrase just means that ideas can be way more powerful than brute force. See? Simple.
Next up is another one with a fancy name, apostrophe. This is a really powerful dramatic trick where a speaker will suddenly stop talking to the audience and start talking directly to something or someone that isn't even there. It could be an idea, an object, or even someone who's passed away.
For a really powerful example, just look at how the poet John Donne speaks directly to death itself. He challenges it, he taunts it, like it's a real person standing right there in the room with him. A technique like this creates this incredible emotional intensity. It just pulls you right into the speaker's head.
So after all that, you might be wondering, okay, but why bother with all this? Well, it's because figures of speech do so much more than just make our sentences sound pretty. They are absolutely essential. They add beauty, for sure, but they also spark our imagination. They can bring total clarity to a really complicated idea. And maybe most importantly, they make our everyday language so much more persuasive and impactful.
Look, language gives every single one of us a voice. That's a given. But it's figures of speech that give that voice its power. So the real question is, how are you going to use yours? The next time you sit down to write something, or you have to give a talk, or even just when you're chatting with a friend, think about it. What words will you choose?